Hey y'all, N4HNH here. Hope you tuned in. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going live. Never done this before, so not sure what this is going to look like on your end. Looks like I do have a chat window over here, so maybe that'll work. So what you're looking at there, hopefully, is what I call radio cam, but I've got it trained on the monitor up on the wall there, the big monitor. And what I'm about to do is I'm about to work. I'm going to try, just bear with me a second. I'm going to step away over to the radio because I can't read the screen in front of me very well. I'm going to step over there and I'm going to try to work a station. I'm going to tell you who it is as soon as I get it going. Just bear with me. I'm getting there. I'm sifting through the call signs. I know he's calling CQ. There he is. Oh, nope, that's not the one I want to work. Sorry. I want to work. Okay, where are you? Where are you? Okay, hopefully I'll get him here in a second. I'll tell you what, guys, who I'm trying to work. Young man named Samarjai in Texas, who just got his extra class license on December 11th, and he's 11 years old. How cool is that? And his dad is also a ham, so he's going to follow in the family footsteps. And his mom got her ticket as well. So I just want to try to work him. He actually put a CQ out, and somebody else went back to him. So I'm keeping an eye over there on the screen, and you can too, for Samarjai's call to come up. So I'll tell you what it is. It's KI5YQK, KI5YQK. So, okay, he's disabled to call first, so maybe I'll get a shot at it this time. Yeah, I want to do this. I actually got to talk to him when he got first licensed, and he got his general, and I was actually to make a sideband contact. But we thought it would be cool to do a digital as well. Let me see if that's him. Well, I'm not seeing him. I know. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'll go ahead and put a CQ out. Okay, so I just put out a CQ. We'll see what happens now. Try to get this going. This will be cool. I hope this is working. Yeah. Hey, PY2OF. I see you there, Marcos. And Steve, there you are, Steve Warner. So this is working. Yeah, I hope hope I can get him. I've just sent a CQ. So maybe Samarjai can answer me, and we'll get this to work. Are you guys seeing the screen okay? Somebody post something down there and let me know. 11 years old, has his extra. Boy, I wish I'd have started then. He's done this in, maybe a little over a month. Dad has to be proud of that. Okay, somebody's coming back. Not him, but we'll work him. Let's see. I'm just going to tell them that I just sent a CQ. So maybe he can answer me. In case you're interested, I am running 50 watts. I'm doing a little bit something different. Okay, let me acknowledge that. Okay, I'll send out another CQ. I've got the radio configured a little bit different than what I have told you before. Well, those of you who've watched my videos about FT8 operation with the FTDX10. And Tuesday, I will put out the first of probably 3 for FT8 related to the FT710. And that is the rig that I'm running right now, the FT710 AESS. I'll soon be turning that rig back in to HRO. And I do appreciate the loan of it for the series. And but just to tell you what I'm doing differently, and there's going to be a video coming out about it. I've already shot the video. I'm not you'll notice the power slider if you look up there on the right. Those of you who have FT8, you know I'm talking about the power slider right there. I'm running it at maximum, and I'm holding the power back on the radio with the radio's power knob. I'm rotating that down to 50 watts. Where normally I would run the radio, set the radio for 100, and I would then control the power with that power slider by dropping it, 3 dB or as close as you can get. To me, with my mouse, I get 2.9 or 3.1, but it gives me roughly 50 watts. But I'm trying it a different way, and it's not square waving, and I'll explain in the video that's coming out. It'll be coming out sometime in January, I think, why I'm doing it that way. It's a little bit of a anecdotal observation that I've made, trying to work some stations that were, where we were down, in the past negative 20 dB range, and going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and not being able to close our contact, complete it. So let me see if, no, I don't think I see him coming back yet. Nope, I'm still calling CQ. So I guess he hasn't seen my signal yet. He's in Texas. I'm in Georgia. I'm hoping that we have the propagation by now. No, that's not him coming back to me. But hey, we'll go ahead and work. Propagation this time of day, sun's gone down. I was hoping, we'd have propagation to Texas. I did see over there on the left list a while ago somebody working him. So hopefully this will work here in a minute. I think it'd just be really cool. So the last time I worked him, let me acknowledge that. Okay, enabling CQ again. The last time I worked Samarjai, he was a general, so I thought it'd be really cool to do this after he's made extra. And so let's see what'll happen here. It shouldn't be this difficult. So we may not have propagation. It just may be that it's not quite late enough in the day for them. I've got 40 meter DX propagation right now, but it's just the opening hours of it here in the east. So it may not work. Like I said, though, I saw him on the left. I should have checked what the signal level was. There's somebody coming back. Not him. I'm looking for KI5YQK. Kilo. Well, his dad just texted me and said they're sending CQ. Let me look. Yeah, we may not have propagation on 40. Maybe I ought to try 20. Okay, y'all hang with me. I'm gonna tell them to switch to 20. Maybe I'll have a chance at it, and they will too. So bear with me a moment while I switch. Okay, if you can hear me, I'm just trying to find a clear spot up here. Hold my control key and get it. There we go. And enable TX. Okay, so what I did was I went over there, switched to 20 meters. I use band stacking to do this. You may see in the upcoming videos, and I think I've talked about it before. I don't use the presets that the FTDX10 or the FT710 have in them. I just don't find them necessary. In fact, they can get in the way. So there's somebody. It's a K5. That's a good sign. Yeah, I don't use the preset. I just go ahead and set the menus up. I find it very easy. As a matter of fact, in the 710, there's only like, I think it was 2 things in the menu that I set. What I do is I use the band stacking. So I go to each band that I might operate FT8 on, and you got triple band stacking on these rigs. Speaking of the FTDX10 and the FT710. So I set up one of those band stacks for CW, one for FT8, one for sideband. And all I need to do to operate operate FT8 is go to one of those band stacks that is FT8, and I set that up in the menu and the PSK data part of it, where you get your levels and all that set that I've talked about, and you Patreons have access to the documents that show all that. And then I just use a band stack, load the frequency and mode data U for FT8, and then I engage WSJTX and let it go for it. That's all. Simple setup. Simple transition from CW to sideband, FT8, and back and forth like that. So it's a pretty cool setup. So yeah, we're 13 minutes and counting in here, but wasn't quite sure about we caught it a little bit late. And let me just say, Samarjai was at a piano lesson, so good for him on that too. Now he's sending us CQ on 20. Let's take a look over there on the left and look for that to come in while I'm working somebody over here on the right. And you guys who've watched my videos in the past, I'm using dark mode. It's better for my eyes. Been struggling a little bit, with the eyes. Had the surgery. There's some more things going on. So the left eye is really my good eye right now. It's not perfect, but it's getting there. But I do better. I just can't see very well. Hey, Stephen E. I can't see very well if it's a white background with black or gray letters. So that's the deal. Well, actually, I kind of like the way the dark mode looks anyway. Okay, there we go. Let me log that. I'm looking over there in the CQs to see if I see him. If one of you guys sees KI5YQK, one of you who's watching live and you happen to be on the air, or if you're watching my screen, if you see KI5YQK pop up, please say something over there in the chat. I do not see either one of you in Tucson. Well, hey, AA7WI. Interesting how that is. Yeah, it's propagation. I'm going to do a video on propagation, kind of just a practical approach, kind of give you some insights. Love the DX10. Well, thank you there, Bakersfield. Let's see, Bakersfield. Bakersfield, California, Larry. There we go. Got it now. I see. Man, see that's small text over here that I'm looking at, and that was difficult to see. But yeah, it's a fun radio, the FTDX10. Definitely my pick. You know, you guys who have been watching the series on the FT710, it's got some great pluses about it, though. Don't get me wrong. And I think it's probably the, KN4HNH. It's probably the greatest entry-level radio there is. The problem is it's priced so close to the FTDX10, and I would take the plunge and get the 10. But the FT710, those of you who have been following that, KD, okay, got you there, KD6 NSA. Those of you who have been following the FT710 series know that, you know, it does have now a peak reading watt meter that you don't have in the FTDX10. That's a nicety to me. It's not a must-have because I use an external watt meter anyway. I've never really trusted a watt meter in a radio. Although I have to admit, these are pretty close, even the one in the FTDX10. The problem with the FTDX10 is people thought they weren't getting 100 watts. So those of you who have an FTDX10, you thought, well, I'm not getting a full 100 watts. You are, but the problem is it's not a peak reading watt meter in the radio. So if you're just going by the radio's watt meter, you're going to see average 50, 60 watts. Now, if you can hold out to do a really good steady whistle, then yes, you may be able to get it to poke up there to 100. But let's see, we got a message coming through. Can I send a CQ? Okay, I'm going to do it. Okay, enabled CQ. Maybe I need to up the power just for this. I won't go over here and change it to 100 watts. Okay, now we're on 100 watts. I don't usually run much more than 50 on FT8. Hey, Marcos. Definitely... Definitely DX10 if you can afford it. I mean, you know, there was a time, I don't know if you guys noticed, but when the FT710 first hit the street, the FTDX10 was still on sale. So there was only a $100 difference between the two in price. The DX10, as many of us affectionately call it, was $1399.95. Incredible low price. This was back, you know, Hamfest pricing, I think it was. And the FT710 came out at $1299.95. Now, yeah, you can say, well, but you get an external speaker with the FT710. That's true. It comes with it, like it or not. And it does help. It helps it have a little bit bigger sound for a radio that compact. But just watching here to see if KI5YQK comes through. So, yeah, it does. Let me log this. And what I'm going to, while I'm logging it, you might see that I'm going to change that power to 100. There we go. And I've got it set to remain, you know, so the next time it'll pop up default 100 since that's what I'm running right now. So, yeah, so the pricing was really, really very close. And in that situation, absolutely, I would have gone for the DX10. But, you know, when they're, let me let him know I'm CQ now. When the price went back up on the FTDX10, I think, what's it sitting at right now? $1499.95 maybe, or $1599.95. I don't predict. I just have a feeling it's not going to go back to its original price of $1699.95. Although I've argued this before. You guys who read the comments have seen me answer a lot of folks. At $1699.95, that's an incredible radio because it's number 2 in the world on Sherwood's chart for dynamic range. You know, that's beating. Granted, you know, dual band radios, dual receive radios and stuff like that. But just that aside, that's beating a $17,000 radio that I've told some of you in the comments. I won't say it here. It's beating a $13,000 radio when it's on sale. It's beating an $8,000 radio. It's even beating the Yaesu 9000, which was a $10,000 radio. So $1,700 radio. That's just amazing. But I think somebody can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it's somewhere around $1,500 right now. And no, you don't get an external speaker. but you can add that later. So to me, if your budget will allow, then you're trying to pick between a 710 and a DX10. I know there's that what's the word I'm looking for here? Temptation. There's that temptation to go, well, but it's a pure SDR, it's direct sampling. And you guys who watched the channel a while, I don't like folks to get snookered. And what I mean by snookered, bamboozled. Some of this marketing will fool you, and you think, well, it's latest, so it's got to be greatest. But my prediction is Yaesu has shown us that a pure SDR can get very, very close to the hybrid. Its big brother, the FTDX10, and of course the bigger brother, the FTDX101D or MP. Yaesu has shown us that they can build a direct sampling radio that will get very, very close to that in the dynamic range category that Sherwood measures. And so I think maybe in the next 10 years, they might actually, and maybe even quicker than that, they might actually be able to build a direct sampling radio that can top the hybrid, but we'll see. Right now, the hybrid rules with having that, think of that super heterodyne front end is doing some heavy lifting. And you guys who have watched the channel for a while, I'm always talking about, I hope I'm not distorting. I see that thing going into the red. I've talked about how the DSP does a much better job if you get rid of the noise in the front end of the receiver first, using things like IPO, attenuation, RF gain. That way, by the time it gets to the DSP, oh wow, okay, thank you, Mike. So right now, oh man, right now the FTDX10 is on sale again for $1399.95 at HRO. Now, granted, the FT710 is also on sale right now for much less than what it came out at, but generally it's about a $300 difference, I think, what I've seen in price, and you don't get the external speaker with the FTDX10. Look, if you're new to amateur radio, you'll have fun with an FT710. Don't worry. Every radio's got its own little quirks, and the FT710 is no different. The FTDX10 is no different. But if you're going to wait around until somebody designs an absolutely perfect radio with every little bell and whistle that you want, well, you're not going to be able to have fun on amateur radio. Let me just look at the screen over there. I see W7RIT. That's pretty cool. Let me go ahead and answer him. Receive incremental tuning. I don't know if that's a vanity call or not, but who knows? Could be. But yeah, thank you, Mike, for that. So $1399.95. I mean, guys, let me put it in perspective. If you watch some of my videos, you've heard me say this. CQ Magazine from 1959 had a Drake transceiver for $599. A Collins back then was around $1,200. When I bought my FT920 in 1999, by the time I added, see, back then you wanted a TCXO, you want a tight CW filter, you want an FM board. That was all extra. So by the time I paid for all of those niceties and added them to my FT920, I had spent, I think, a little over $1,500. So that's in 1999. I still have that 920. I love that radio. Won't part with it. But, it's not going to compete with the FTDX10. Some of you know, if you've been watching the channel a while, that... Okay, still looking for KI5YQK. Some of you know that I had to send the FTDX 5000 back to Yaesu. Thankfully, the 3-year warranty. I was still inside of the year anyway, but I like their 3-year warranty. And it was my fault. RF came in on the CAT port, and that was due to common mode current coming back in on an antenna that I was running. Legal limit. So smoked the cat port, sent it back to Yaesu. That's a heavy beast of a radio. It was $280 shipping. But they fixed it, And I made sure I choked everything down, got all that cleared up before it happened again. But also I have to admit, the cable that I was using, which I had bought, I won't name the name of them because since then they have corrected it. But the cable I bought, which was made for amateur operators, just logging that one. The cable I bought, it didn't have any chokes on it. So I've got chokes on both ends now. I choked it to death. And I've not had any other trouble with it using even legal limit the few times I've done it. I don't really run legal limit much. You know, you guys know me, much above 700 or 800 watts in this bragging rights. But, you know, while it was gone, I got the 920 out. And I set it up, and oh my goodness, I was already spoiled by the receiver in that 5000 and the DSP. And I had upgraded my 920 to NRAD filters. Those of you who are familiar with international radio, those are phenomenal filters. I had a 250 hertz CW filter in there. And so, yeah, it was, oh, let me see. Somebody else calling, hang on. I'll keep going back to them, and hopefully Samarjai can see me in there. No, they say done just now. It's just not going to work. Oh man, I hate that. Propagation's just not right between here and Texas right now. We're in that transition period between, 40 meters. If I go back to 40 meters, it might work, but I'm waiting on sundown for them. So back to the story. Not the subject of this video, but sadly it doesn't look like we're going to be able to get Samarjai. I was hoping to get him here right after his extra. But I put the 920 up, and man, it was like, wow, I know this has been a great radio for me. I went 20 years without buying a base station. In fact, the 5000's the technically the second base station I ever bought. I had an HF Mobile first. And I wound up getting my FT8 91 that I hike with for Summits on the Air. I got it out of the backpack and brought it in here and used it as a base station for a while. I got out my MD100 microphone, and man, that FT8 91 is a little beast. Nobody knew that I was on a little bitty radio like that. I still sounded like a base station. That radio has just been phenomenal. In fact, I bought a next extra one now to put in my truck. I've had it in the truck now for a couple of years, but and I want to shout out. I won't mention his name because of the kind of person he is. He won't want me to say, but I got a Christmas present from one of the Patreon support members. He sent me an ATAS 120A, and that's the automatic antenna that works directly with the FT8 91. 3 of you I know have purchased the FT8 91 and the ATAS 120A antenna, and 2 of you have it mounted on the front left of your vehicle using one of those Diamond K400 mounts. It's a trunk lip mount, but it'll go in any direction. And then one has his using the Diamond mount on the trunk. Let me log that. Okay, I won't send any more CQs for now. But, the coax powers the antenna, moves it up and down. So, we talk about antenna tuners. And so antenna tuners is a little bit of a misnomer. You guys know that by now, if you've been in this, if you've been in it for a while. Really what we call an antenna tuner, that term we throw around, it's really an antenna matching unit. And those of you who read the comments, you've seen me, I try to intentionally say that. I may say AKA antenna tuner, but what those are really doing, they're acting like a transformer. Now don't get me wrong, you're going to have people out there that will say antenna tuners are terrible, you got so much loss through them. That's not really true. It's just acting like a transformer. Hey, Luciano, wow. Yeah, Luciano reads my comments. I can tell you that right now. He always reads the comments, the replies and the descriptions in the videos, because remember, I add a little extra stuff in the video descriptions. But it might be something I thought about after I shot the video, or it might be something that I didn't want the video to get too long, so I'll just throw the extra stuff in the description. But Yeah. Anyway, the lost my train of thought there, but the FT8 91 just fabulous little radio. Worked as a base station while Yaesu took care of the 5000, and so I got really spoiled by the quality of the Yaesu receivers. Now, in that FT891 doesn't have an FPGA chip. There's no SDR stage. That's a triple super heterodyne. And, in a nutshell, triple super heterodyne is 3 stages of mixing and, intermediate frequency, IF. So what's happening there is that that's going to give you great selectivity. The trade-off has been traditionally, and I say has been, you get something called phase noise. So each time you do that mixing operation, you get a little bit more noise that you're going to hear even if your antenna is disconnected. Now, what's happened in recent years, and I say recent years, wow, last 15, 20 years, the mixing components have gotten so much better. And I should say, well, the ones that Yaesu has chosen to use in their radios and some of the other brands too, the mixing components have gotten so much better that phase noise is not that bad, and so you can still get away with having the super heterodyne take care of the selectivity and still not have a lot of phase noise involved. So that's what the FTDX10 is, by the way. Dual super heterodyne, 2-stage of mixing, and then you've got the FPGA chip, which is handling your display and then also feeding to the DSP stage. It's really a blend of the best of both worlds. That's what the FTDX 101 is as well. So that's what's going to be hard to. He just let me know. So it is propagation. Rajiv, Samarjai's father, just told me that he can see me on another receiver. So it's a matter of. Let me switch back to 40 meters while I talk to you guys. I hope you can bear with me on that. Looks like we got 21 viewers. It was 23, so I guess some dropped off. I'm going to go back to 40 just to see if it's possible that they might be getting their sundown now. Bear with me. Okay, sending another CQ, this time on 40 meters. We'll see if it works this time. But covering too many subjects at the same time should be a bunch of separate videos. But you guys, if you've watched the channel enough, you know that I'm a big fan of these Yaesu receivers. These hybrids, the FTDX10, the FTDX 101, you've got the best of both worlds going on there. I do believe, like I said, probably in the next 10 years, maybe less, that someone will come out with a direct sampling radio that can achieve the kind of numbers these hybrids are achieving. To be fair, the FT710 comes very, very close. The area where, oh, I got him. There he is. See it? KI5YQK. He's the second from the bottom. Ha! Hey, Samarjai, we did it. We did it, buddy. All right, let me make sure I'm going back to him. Yeah, and he's got a pretty good signal. -2. Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, okay, let me just send him a text there. So I'm switching between 7 megahertz and 2.2 gigahertz there, right? Yeah, this is awesome. It's a privilege for me. Some of you guys may have had this honor too. Let me ask you. I'm not his first contact, but I'm enjoying being one of his first FT8 contacts after he made Extra at 11 years old. How many of you, maybe speak up if you're watching, put a little comment. How many of you have had the honor? Oh, there we go. Let me log that. How many of you have had the honor of being someone's first HF contact? And for that matter, really, first contact at all could be a 2-meter repeater. That's just really, really cool. I can't. I think I can count it on one hand, but maybe 3, maybe 4. And I always make a note in my log about that. I do log still. I'm old school. I won't risk a wreck if I'm mobile trying to log. But if it's something really, really rare, I'll get my phone out and I'll use the voice recorder app and just speak the contact in there so I can get home and log it. But it is really, really cool if you have the opportunity to be somebody's very first HF contact. I just really enjoy that so much. But yeah, so back to the receivers. Oh, look at that. Okay, Mike, that's cool. So Mike has had that opportunity a few times, AA7WI. That's great, man. You've probably been around the hobby a little while, maybe. I hate to call it a hobby. We're really a radio service. People think, oh, well, ham radio, that's still around. Yeah, look, okay, Steven says that he had somebody pop up on a local repeater yesterday morning. That was cool and brand new. That's cool. And hey, Rodger, how you doing, buddy? That's great to have you on here with me, man. Yeah, this was sort of impromptu. I didn't plan. Well, we did. We had planned for me to try to make an FT8 contact with Samarjai, but it didn't work out during the week. All the wet weather and such as that for them and for me, for that matter. And you might be thinking, wait a minute, what's weather got to do with it? Well, they have a unique situation. In fact, I hope Rajiv won't mind me telling you this. They live in Texas, and they're in an area where he can't really put up an antenna. So at night, they will. He's got a mast pole and an end fed halfway from N4HNH, my buddy Ariel. We call him Ariels, and he will hoist that mast. I believe it's 32 feet. And that end fed, and then that's when they can play radio. So that's pretty cool. So it wasn't real practical to do that with all the rain. And okay, hey Wendell, yeah. So twice for you. That's cool. And let's see, VT Radio. I've worked a couple of hams on the local repeater for their first or second QSO. Hey Paul, yeah. So you're in Vermont, AA1SU. Thanks for joining us there, Paul. Yeah, so, I've never done this before. This is my first time to shoot a live one that I know of. My buddy Kurt, KB9JQU, he told me one day that I was somehow going live, and I didn't mean to. But this was intentional, and I'm so glad now it wasn't a bust. I'm so glad to... oh, hey, KN4YM, hey, man, I missed you back up there, up the list. Y'all forgive me. Some of you have been with me enough. I had this eye surgery, and it's been complicated. It wasn't... a typical cataract surgery. I've got some additional issues with my right eye. It has to do with the retina. So I've got what's called a wrinkle in my retina. So they're still trying to work that out. And they had to re-laser my left eye last week. James, okay, hey James, Plunkett. I have a few times as well. Just also want to say that I've had my FTDX10 almost a year now and absolutely love it. I tell you, man. Yeah, those of you, somebody asked up the list there, PY2OF, Marcos. Yeah, definitely if you can swing it, get the 10. Like I said, though, FT710 is going to be a great radio. It's going to be a great introductory level radio and beyond. And I'm hoping the few little idiosyncrasies that I've pointed out in the series, and there's going to be a nitpick video coming out next year. I think it'll be in March. Yes, I have that many videos already shot for that. And I'm only putting those out once a week because I'm still going to shoot videos about FTDX10, FTDX5000. You guys know me, man. I love that big old beast of a radio. You won? Okay, hey, VT Radio won an FT891 at a Hamfest recently. The poor thing is still in the box. Oh, dude, man, that's what I was starting to tell you guys. So three of my viewers bought the FT891 with that ATAS 120A mobile antenna. So I was talking to you now I'm back on my train of thought. I was still, it was hard to try to focus while I was still trying to look for Samarjai's call sign. So we talked about antenna tuners. An antenna tuner, yeah, contrary to popular belief, you don't lose much through an antenna tuner. It may be 1/10 of a dB. I've seen some measurements because really it's acting like a transformer. So just like the power out there on the power pole that is coming into your neighborhood, they're ultimately transforming that down to two 120 volt AC power wires to come into your house. to give you the total of 240 if you were to wire face to face, like for a dryer or a stove. You're not really losing much through that transformer out there on the pole. An antenna tuner is acting like a transformer. It's just transforming whatever impedance is coming in off the antenna. Let's just say it's a 150 ohm impedance. That would be a 3-to-1 SWR. Even the modern, what I call touch-up tuners, can correct that. So they'll take that 150 ohms and transform it to where the radio sees 50 ohms. You're not going to lose a lot through that. Now, you guys know I've got an older radio. I got two older radios, the FT8 mobile that I used and the FT920. They have those old school internal antenna tuners because, well, the radios were bigger, so they could hold all the components. And those are wide range antenna tuners. I used a 10-meter ham stick mobile with that FT890 AT for antenna tuner. And I was able to operate 10 without the tuner, 12, 15, 17, and 20 with the antenna tuner. You can't do that with these modern antenna tuners that they put in the radios because the radios have gotten smaller. They're using the relay-based tuners, and they just can't put enough combinations of inductance and capacitance in there to match 4 and 5 to 1 or higher. So I call them touch-up tuners. They can take an antenna, let's say, that's trimmed for the middle of the band, and then you have you get out to the edges of the band. Those of you like me who are going to work CW all the way up as far low as you can go, all the way up to, let's say, on the 20-meter band, 14,350. Okay, and we wouldn't transmit at 14,350. We would transmit at 14,347. So we stay in our lane. We don't want to have our sideband extending beyond 14,350. I say that because it's a test question. So your antenna's being asked to, that's a big span of frequency. So those tuners that are in your radios now can act as a touch-up tuner to make even the band edges look perfect to the radio. Now, what's the ATAS-120A doing? It's literally you're tuning that antenna through the radio, and there's no other connection required. You don't have to run a power cable to the battery. It's powered through the coax, and Rajiv doesn't even know I'm live right now. He sent me a text, but I'll get back with him. But the radio, you just connect coax, and the radio, the 891, has a setting in the menu to tell it that it's an ATAS-120A, and it will go out to the antenna and say, hey, we've changed bands. You need to raise up or lower the stinger, we call it, the metal part. And so it'll adjust itself. So really you are tuning the antenna. You could honestly say with an FT891 and an ATAS-120, when we say antenna tuner, you're really tuning that antenna. So I encourage you to get that FT891 out if you're thinking about making it a mobile. But like I said earlier, I don't know if you were tuned in when I mentioned it, but when I was using my FT891 as a base station, people didn't know that I wasn't still on the 5000. I used the same menu, same audio settings, plugged an MD100 in, and it sounded like a big old base station. That's a great little all-around rig. And I feel like I was fortunate when I bought the first one, because when they first came out, they came out at $799.95, the same price as the FT857D, which now the FT857D also has 2 meters and 70 centimeters in it. My brother Wayne has one because he has a truck where he just couldn't find a place to mount 2 radios. He barely could mount one. He put the 857 radio under the seat, and he's using the control head with a little gooseneck thing coming up from the floorboard. Well, when the FT891 came out, everybody thought and expected it was going to be the new kid on the block that replaces the 857D, but it didn't have 2 meters and 70 centimeters. And that produced a problem in the marketing, I guess. So soon after, the radio dropped in price, and I was able to get one not too long after the price drop. I got one, and granted, it was also during a seasonal sale, but I got my first one for $569.95. And I think I got the second one when I decided to get one for my truck. I waited a year until they had another one of those sales, and I got it for $564.95. So if you see one even now, Rodger, you're getting one. Cool, man. Rodger just said he's got an ATAS-128 coming for his 891. Going to set it up on his Tacoma. That's cool, man. For POTA. Okay, so Rodger, KB9JQU, Kurt, he probably wouldn't mind me telling you this. He's been out in South Dakota, and he's got one with the antennas mounted on the front left, using the trunk mount, the K400 from Diamond, but he's got it mounted to the hood. And he is working the world. He sends me these maps that he goes on. He's got this service where, and I think he said it's free. He told me the other day the URL, but you take your contacts and load them to it, sort of like we would upload to QRZ, and it prints a map of where you are and then draws lines to all your contacts. And he's sitting in South Dakota, in his truck, POTA. By the way, giving a lot of people contacts to some POTA parks out there that are rare. I think some of them had never been activated, and then maybe one or two had only been activated once. But he's working people in Japan and Europe, everywhere. His coverage maps are incredible with an ATAS 120 and an FT8 91. And hey, Mike from Eagle River, Wisconsin. Thanks for joining there, buddy. So yeah, the ATAS is proven to be quite good. And here I am. I've been telling people about it, and I don't even own one. So again, the guy that sent me one for Christmas, I'm not going to say his name because he's just that kind of guy. It would actually make him upset if I were to say it. But I'll be shooting a video when I install it in my truck, because I've got to go pick up a Diamond K400 and get it mounted in there. And I'll be one of those guys that changes bands and watches the stinger on the antenna just move up or down, whatever it's got to do to adjust for the new band change. So I'm looking forward to that. Kurt did say, just full disclosure, guys, he did say he felt like it might be a little bit of a compromise antenna for 40 meters, but it's gangbusters on all the other bands. It works above that. And 40 meters is a go-to band for me mobile, because those of you who've been around a while, if you're fairly new, cycle 24 was awful. And during cycle 24, we're in cycle 25 now, and if you're just getting into amateur radio, you hit it at a great time. I had the same thing happen when I first got into it in the 80s. I caught it at a really good point in the sunspot cycle. You remember, it's approximately every 11 years we see the bell curve go up and down. So you're in on the front end of that bell curve. And so you're going to start just seeing more and more. And 10 meters. I did a little FT8 today on 10 meters. It was open, wide open. Shut down about sundown. But you're going to see those bands opening up more and more and more, 6 meters. And by the way, the ATAS 120A can operate 6 meters as well. For that matter, I think it operates 2 meters. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it does. But it's gangbusters on all those bands, according to Kurt. He feels like it might be a little bit of a compromise on 40. Hey, Rodger, K8MRD, I recognize you, buddy. Mike had a great... Oh, I see what you're saying. He had... Yeah, K8MRD radio stuff has a good video about the ATAS 128. Well, that's good to know. You guys support his YouTube channel. So back to the 40 meter thing. During cycle 24, which was so abysmal, I found myself just leaving my 40 meter ham stick on the truck, and VT Radio says he can see himself on my waterfall. Oh, that's cool. So I found myself just leaving the 40 meter ham stick on the truck because it worked, that band in cycle 24, which was abysmal. It worked day and night in the daytime. Like I said, I'm going to shoot a propagation video, more of a practical approach kind of thing of, and it'll vary according to where you live. But let's just say, like, for example, here in the East, during cycle 24, I knew that I could operate 40 meters during the day and get regional coverage. After sundown, 40 meters at night, it stretches out, as we call it, goes long, and then I could do DX, one band. I did it from my truck, going to the grocery store at night. I'd work Brazil, I'd work England, Wales, 40 meters is the go-to band when the bands are in not great shape. Once in a while, 17 meters was opening up for 2 to 3 hours in the afternoon. Now, at night, of course, 75 meters, 80 meters, 160. But again, you're getting mostly regional coverage there. Well, at 75, technically 80 meters, get down there in the DX window area. You could work DX at night, even during cycle 24. So oh yeah, Frank, thanks. Yeah, I'm sure I will. Like I said, I've had 3 viewers just tell me it's just incredible. One of the guys, actually, the one that's got his mounted on the trunk, he does CW. He's got a leg strap. He does CW mobile. He's a beast. But I'm looking forward. I definitely am looking forward to getting that thing in the truck. And I'll have something to compare it to. I'll let you guys know how it does compared to my ham stick, because these ham sticks have been great. But let me tell you how I change bands. I pull over. I get out of the truck. I got a quarter turn quick connect on my ham sticks. I take one off. I stick it in the back of the truck. I have to unscrew it in half so I can fit it back there. And then I pull out the other ham stick for that band. I screw it together. It's got a quick connect. I then open the door and do it on the opposite side, on the passenger side. You don't want to be next to the highway. And then I just pop the other one on. Then I can, that's how I change bands. So it's going to be great to be able to just change bands and have the antenna automatically change itself. Now, Kurt told me that I think you have to stop the vehicle at least when you change bands for the motor to work. But that's fine. I won't have to get out of the vehicle. I can just pull off, on the emergency lane, and I'll do the thing there. So let's see, AJ2I, he's a fellow soda guy. Here's a challenge for you with that A-test. Try and work Asia long path. A long path with that is kind of funny, but it can be true. Depending on where you mount an antenna mobile, you may or may not get that perfect. You may or may not get that perfect circular pattern. Now, my ham sticks are mounted dead center of the roof with one of those super strong triple magnets, and I do get a pretty good circular pattern with that. Moving the ATAS is going to be down there on the left side of my hood, so that is going to change the pattern. So you can orient your vehicle in such a way where you could possibly put most of your signal in one direction, kind of use it a little bit like a beam. Luciano, I love 30 meters. It is an interesting band, and I like the fact that everybody's limited to 200 watts there. So you got a little bit more of a fair chance. Same thing with 60 meters. I love that band. It's that good gap band between 40 and 80. It covers that range that 40 may not be able to, 40 is going over their head, for example, and 75, 80 is too short. 60 is a great gap band, and you're limited to 100 watts. So you can get on there and have fun, and if you don't have an amplifier, doesn't matter. But I do like 30 meters a whole lot. CW only, but data too. Data. But you can't use voice. Great band. We have a mystery in the soda community. I'll just let you guys in on it. There's somebody over in Europe that somehow in the middle of the day on 30 meters is able to hear our stations here in Arizona and California and gives them a 599. We haven't figured that out yet. We have asked. He claims, he's got triple stack beams, I think 150, 200 foot tower. So maybe he's creating his own propagation is what I call it. But for 30 meters, for example, from where I am here near Atlanta, 30, I'm pretty much stretching it to get Arizona. I can get Colorado pretty well on 30 meters, but it's very difficult for me in the middle of the day to chase a soda station in California, and I will just say it's impossible to get one in Oregon or Washington on 30 meters in the middle of the day. So it's amazing to me that this guy can create his own propagation from Europe and work these people. Okay, I'll look for that. Y'all bear with me a second. A1SU, I'm going back to you. Yeah, I wasn't looking over there, but there's all that red. I see you there. So that's an interesting one to me. If you got any thoughts on that, feel free to post here or comment later, whatever. I think this will be available later to rerun. But my theory is he's creating his own propagation with that tall tower and that triple stack 30 meter beam, because I can barely get Arizona from Atlanta. And this guy's able to get those Arizona stations from Europe. Now, he's giving them a 599. We kind of think what's going on there is, a lot of the contesters, they just say 599 because it's pre-programmed. So maybe that's what's going on with that. Yeah, well, okay, so what I've got there, VT radio, I've got what you're seeing is the camera that's aimed at that screen that's over here on my right. It's a 32-inch TV on the wall, and I've got what I call the radio cam trained on it. What I mean by radio cam, you guys are probably bored, so let me show you. So now the radio cam is trained on the radio, and that is the FT710 sitting atop the FTDX10. It's too dark for you to see that. Let me see if I can get a little more light. That's not really helping, but the FTDX10 is sitting under that. I am looking forward to getting the legs of that FT710 off my DX10. So see it transmitting, see the red light there in the middle? And that's blue if it's not coming out on your end that way, but that's a blue light on the left. There's one on the right of the VFO that lets you know you're on VFO A. So that's a pretty cool feature in that rig. They added some niceties, but I'm going to be honest with you, for those that well, thank you there, Rodger. I see that hit the light. For those of you who are still trying to decide, if you want an FT710, the way I would look at it is this: have it as a second radio. If you can get the DX10, but have the 710 as a second radio. It's a fabulous CW radio, and it's also fabulous at FT8. Now, the FTDX10 wins on sideband every time. You just can't beat that super het front end that it's got. It's doing some heavy lifting ahead of the FPGA chip and the DSP. So, but I've had some fun with this FT710, especially on CW and on FT8. It's got a great CW, very, very sensitive receiver. And if you do the filtering the way I've shown you guys on the channel, using the narrow, I go down to 50 or 100 hertz, in the DSP, and I use I'll use the APF, which is a really cool function that Yaesu radios have, and also I will employ that manual notch filter. You guys can watch the videos on how I do that. That helps cut out some of that ripple, that ringing sound, because that ringing sound is at the same frequency as the CW station you're listening to. And I'm chasing, so I mentioned Oregon and Washington. I'll get those stations on 20 meters, and sometimes 17 when they go that high. And lately, 15 meters. That's been great, seeing 21 megahertz open up. That was my first band ever that I ever operated when I got my ticket. Well, those stations are running 5 watts in Oregon. Here I am near Atlanta. So my friend Ariel calls them barely above imaginary. I call them ghost state. Well, my friend Joel calls them ghost stations, so I picked that up from him. KC4WZB, you guys know about Joel. He made it possible for me to shoot that FTDX10 series. Those stations out that far, I mean, they're down in the noise floor. So I got to do all that filtering. APF then boosts it, but APF is also boosting the pitch of the CW. So what can happen is you're sitting there and you're almost convincing yourself that you're copying CW, but what you're hearing is the rippling of your filter. So the notch trick will help minimize that filter ripple. And it's just the 710 is capable of that, and the FTDX10 are capable of that. For that matter, the 5000 is, and so is the 101D. It's just, man, it's just phenomenal radios here for FT8 and CW. If you're really, really into voice, though, the DX10 is going to be the favorite there because the digital noise reduction is better on it. Now, I understand on good authority that Yaesu is working to improve the digital noise reduction in the FT710. That's one of the things I dinged it on. And, like I've said all the time, there's no perfect radio. Well, okay, if you have any questions, I'm going to wrap it up here, but if you have a question, go ahead and pop it down there in the comments, and I'll try to answer it right quick. It's great to have you guys with me here. We got up to about 28 viewers, sitting at 21 right now. Good to have all you guys that did join in. And Luciano, let's see, it's got to be a crazy hour over there for you. And good to have you there, Frank, and VT Radio. Oh yeah, let me log you there. All right, there we go. I got you in my log now. I'll be uploading that to QRZ after I finish here. But yeah, thanks you guys for jumping in on this. My first time to do a live one, and it was just, I couldn't help myself because I wanted to be able to make that contact with Samarjai just after he's made Extra at 11 years old. So that's an encouragement to any of you out there who have children. One of my sons did get his ticket. He's into camping and hiking. His motivation was not to talk. In fact, he's not a talker. But he got his tech so he could have an HT for safety. I hope maybe some of you folks saw that in the news this past week, where a gentleman got out hiking and got lost and used his HT to hit a repeater and was able to get help and get rescued. You know, sadly, we've heard too many of the stories where the person did not get rescued, and they wound up passing away. So, and I read those and I think, man, if they'd have just had an HT, because you guys know, if you do SOTA, I know AJ two on here, he does it, AJ2I. You're above the cell towers a lot of time. You think, oh, I'm so high up, I ought to be able to get a good signal. Well, those cell tower antennas are on servo motors, and they're actually angling them more toward the horizon to try to get more signal, you know, with the curvature of the earth. So when you're up on a mountaintop, your cell phone may not work. So now sometimes if you're rural enough, they may have a cell tower up on a mountaintop, and that will help. But the ones that are down in the valleys, not much help. That's why sometimes we have to post our SOTA spots via text message, or if you do CW, you can use something called the reverse beacon network. And as long as you post a alert, we call it, ahead of time, once you start sending CW, the reverse beacon network will detect it, and it'll say, oh, that's Doug. He's supposed to be on this mountain, so we'll go ahead and post a spot for him. So that is a really cool thing. Let's see. Have Yaesu fixed the fan on all the time? Yeah, you know, that was one of my beefs. Oh, look, VT Radio has all 50 states and 175 DXCC on 30 meters. That's great. That is great. Yeah, I mean, man, I'm assuming, at night he's using 30 meters to go long. Let's see, what do you have your DX10 scope set at? Well, you know, if y'all watch that video that I put out about scope level setting, I actually, by the way, I got to where I like the 3D mode. But you got to understand, I'm old school. Just give me an S meter. And yes, I know they're not all accurate. But waterfalls were never a draw for me. Spectrum scope, I liked. I got to where I set the level adjustment. And, you know, with my FTDX10, I'll tell you what I did. I used that C.S option. You hold that C.S button in, and I selected level to be the default for the outer dial outside of the VFO. And I will adjust that down to where I don't see the noise. I call it cutting the grass because I've got that screen. See the green up there on the FT710? So let me show you that. I'm pressing. See, right now it's set to do RF power. I hope you can hear me. I'm going to level. Now, you see that wall of noise? I don't want to see that. So what I do, I call cutting the grass because I've got that. I'm using that green theme. It's color 10. So I lower that level until all I see are the signal spikes and I don't see the noise. See, that's why it doesn't bother me that the thing doesn't have averaging for the scope. So I hope that answered the question. I have the 991A. Are they going to be improving 1 through 8 of the DNR? No, I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. That's a great question there, Rodger. I actually inquired about that a couple of years ago. They put out a firmware update for the 891. The rumor was that it was going to improve the DNR. I installed it on both mine. I can't tell a difference. Just consider 1 through 8 is useless. But the good news is 9 is amazing. 9 and up are great. So as far as I'm concerned, DNR for me stays on 9. And I'll tell you why I think they weren't able to improve it. And you might think, well, wait a minute. Some of you may know this. It uses the exact same Texas Instruments chip that the FTDX10 has. And just as a review for those of you who don't know me well or haven't been on the channel a while, when I went shopping for that new HF base station in 2019, the FTDX5000 was the very first radio I ever used that had digital noise reduction that wasn't abysmal. I won't name the names, but I tried other ones. In fact, the brand that I went in there to buy, I didn't go in there to buy Yaesu. And the DNR was so bad, I thought it was embarrassing. They shouldn't have even put it in the radio. And when I heard the DNR of the 5000, I was just blown away. Blown away. Because there was no watery artifact. The digital artifact, it sounds like you're listening underwater. And I waited on the FTDX 101 to come out before I made a buying decision. And lo and behold, it acted just like the FT891. Digital noise reduction algorithms. Remember, though, it says level. That's Yaesu converting language. I guess translating Japanese to English, trying to find a word that, I don't know. I think they just should say algorithm, but maybe they're looking for something that's a shorter word. Those are really algorithms, and the higher number you use, the algorithm is more aggressive. So, sorry that we're going long here, but these are great questions, and I don't mind answering them. Those of you who read the comments know I will answer as much as I can. That algorithm 1 through 8 has that watery digital artifact on the 891. It uses the same chip as the 101. It has the watery digital artifact. Okay, hold that thought. When I was comparing it to the FTDX 5000 MP, it didn't have the digital artifact, and I thought, my goodness, how can Yaesu put out a flagship new base station? And okay, Mike, I'll get down there and look at that. Yeah, the oscilloscope's on the lower left side. Yeah, and that's what you want to watch. Make sure you're not square waving. I've got a video coming out next year that's going to upset probably some people, where because I'm doing something different with FT8 tonight, and you'll learn in that video what I'm doing that goes against the grain. Okay, I'll just put it that way. Has to do with that scope, by the way, and it has to do with ALC. But I digress. The digital noise reduction, what happened was the FTDX10 came out, and I said, oh my, this digital noise reduction is as good as what's in the 5000. Now, the 5000 has a Texas Instruments chip too, but a slightly different model number. Runs at a little bit slower clock speed, but very, very effective. I put it up against any radio still today. It and the 10, I like to put them up against each other. You guys have seen a few of the videos, but I even do it when I'm not filming. And they just run neck to neck. Well, the 10 comes out, and I go, wow, that is incredible DNR. And so I was disappointed that the 101D didn't have that. Well, what happened was April of 2021, I believe it was April of 2021, they did a firmware update, Yaesu, they being Yaesu, and the FTDX 101D got the same update, or the same algorithms as the FTDX10. Now, back to the question, what about 891? I looked at the schematic on the 891, and I've actually talked to one of the guys at Yaesu that I get along with pretty well. I won't tell you, I won't lie to you that sometimes you don't get always the best information. And but we've talked about it. I looked at the schematic, and if you look outside the schematic, outside of the DSP chip, there's a memory block. I think it's 8 meg. I think what's happened is it just doesn't have enough memory to receive those enhanced algorithms that the 10 and the 101 can. So they have more memory available. So I think that's why the DNR we see in the 891 is not going to get any better. But thankfully, there is algorithm 9, 10, all the way up to 15. They work fine. And I've shot a video about this, and I've mentioned it to some of you in the comments. If you say, well, yeah, but at algorithm 9, and by the way, let me just say, algorithm 9 on an FT891 is about the equivalent of algorithm 3 or 4 on a FTDX10 or an FTDX101D or MP. People will say, yeah, but now I hear this echo. Well, that's just because that's how good the DNR is. I'll tell you about that echo. I've got a video coming out on that, as a matter of fact, I believe. It may have already been out. It's just that good. What's happening is that echo is coming from your AGC, automatic gain control, and it has something called hold time. Now, that hold time is adjustable in the FTDX5000. It is not adjustable in the FTDX10, and or the 101 for that matter. But what you're hearing is, it really is sort of like a reverb or a delay. Since the noise has been removed, you can hear it. If the noise is there, you can't. It's there all the time. It's a holdover from the automatic gain control, acting a little bit like what we call in the music industry a delay. So you're hearing the voice a little bit longer, sort of an echo effect. It's there all the time. It's just that most digital noise reduction either can't remove all the noise without making it sound like you're underwater, or just can't remove it anyway. And so what you're left with on the FTDX10, the FTDX5000 does it too, FTDX101 with its update, you're hearing now, since all the noise has been removed, you're hearing that AGC hold. So you know what? I grew accustomed to it, and I love it. I run DNR all the time. Those of you who have watched the channel for a while, hey, thank you for subscribing there, VT Radio. Those of you who have watched the channel for a while know that I got spoiled by that digital noise reduction in the 5000, and so in every rig I run it all the time, mobile with the 891. Those of you with an 891, I'll tell you, that memory thing we're talking about, so that's another reason, like certain things will store when you store in memory and will be remembered. DNR won't, setting won't. It's one of the ones where even if you write it to a memory with DNR turned on, when you go back to that channel, it'll be off. So I assigned it to one of those ABC keys. I've got DNR assigned to the C. You go into menu, dial up DNR, and just hold down the C key until it beeps, and now DNR is assigned to the C key, because that's one of the things that doesn't store when I return to when I move off, go to a different frequency. I work from memory mode, a memory tune. I shot a video about that because the 891 doesn't have band stacks. I just go to a memory. Let's say I want to change from 40 meters to 20. I go into memory mode. I dial in a 20-meter memory that I've got, and I know I'm going to have to turn on DNR because it's not memorized. Again, it's a memory limit. I've got a video coming out later this year or maybe early next year about what we request with firmware updates, and that we need to prioritize and think about the fact that, so you 28 that are watching right now are going to hear something that's coming out in a video. We really have to think long and hard about what we want a firmware update to include. Oh yeah, you're welcome there, Rodger, because we're going to hit a memory limit with any of these radios. So some of the things that you see requested, I would look at them and go, nah, that's not more important for me than, say, for example, I want more mouse control on the DX10. I don't want to have to touch that band button. And on mine, running the older firmware, I double tap band to go through the band stacks. Those of you who with the newer firmware, and my firmware is V0104, I never updated it. You have the ones with the newer firmware, you have to tap band and then press the function key. Tap band, press the function key, or tap band and tap when the band pops up, just tap the same band again. I find it easier to do the function key. The 710 works that way. But on my DX10, I can just double tap band. The problem is the band button is right in between the function knob and the VFO, so it's a little bit tight. I've gotten used to it. The timeout, even the 2 or 3 seconds we have to make a choice, I got used to that too. It doesn't bother me. What my dream is that we could tap the megahertz part of where it's reading out. Yeah, you're welcome there, Paul. Tap the megahertz part of the frequency readout, and it brings up the band menu. So you don't pop up, so you don't have to press the band button. I mean, already you can tap mode, right? And it brings up mode. You don't have to tap. I've never touched that mode button on the radio. We need that for band. So we single tap that megahertz portion of the frequency readout, and it brings up the band pop-up. Now, double tap or double click, and then I want to cycle through the band stacks. That would be so convenient. Another thing that would be cool is to be able to tap in the kilohertz portion of that. And right now what it does is blink, and then you turn the VFO knob, and it'll change in kilohertz. What I'd like to be able to do is tap that, and when it's blinking, use my mouse wheel. And finally, I'd like to be able to right-click somewhere, say over the waterfall, and bring up the function menu. Okay, you can do all this menu changes with a mouse or your finger once you're getting to the function menu, but you got to get into the function menu by pressing a knob, the function knob. In my priority of things, those are the things I'd rather see before some of the things that are less important. Now, granted, that's to me, my operating style, because I know they're going to hit a memory limit. So we should prioritize the things based upon what is most important. And for me, ergonomics is a big deal. That's why I have that big old giant 5000 over there. I don't hardly ever touch a menu. Everything I need to do is on a knob, but it's a 45-pound behemoth. And, so we take our trades when we need to. All right. So, let's see. How do I get the black background on my WSJTX screen? Okay. Yeah. The dark mode. If you look in the WSJTX instructions, buried down in there, there's going to be a code that it will tell you to put into the. Tell you what, let me train the radio cam over here on the WSJTX screen, and I'll show you. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to shut it down for a minute because I have to show you the icon that starts WSJTX. Okay, so I pulled that over. So what I did was I right-clicked on the icon that's on my desktop, and I went to Properties, and it's got a little line there. Hopefully you guys can see that where it says the target, and that text is buried in the instructions somewhere, but you have to put that in there, save it, and then the next time you start WSJTX, you will be in dark mode. Those of you who are Patreon support team members that are executives or VIPs, I did cover that in the FTDX10 setup document for FT8. Remember, there's two. There's one that covers all my menu optimizations, as I call it, and I even get into the knobs and buttons and how I use them. I wrote a separate document for setting up an FTDX10 to operate on FT8, and I did cover that dark mode in there as well, among other things. And I just released one of those for the FT710 as well. And it's got that little command trigger in there, but it is buried in the instructions for WSJTX. I can't see it right now with that screen. Let me look. Oh, it's a bunch of gibberish. The best thing to do is go to WSJTX's instructions. They've got a PDF you can download and type in dark mode and look for that. It's got some special characters and things in there, but all I did was copy and paste from their documents what I did. And that's what gave me the dark mode. And I like it. Sitting in here in the dark FT8, nice and quiet. Remember, the cool thing about FT8, CW2 for that matter, you can operate in quiet, not interfering with any family members that might be watching a TV show or whatever. Fortunately for me, the shack is in the basement, so I'm pretty well isolated here. Let's see. We have thanks for the thank you, Mike. Really got a lot out of the FT710 and FTDX10, leaning towards the 10. Yeah, if you can fund it, get the 10. I know Yaesu probably doesn't like me saying stuff negative about the 710. I've said things negative about the DX10. Look, you know me. I'm going to just shoot straight with you guys, thanks to that Patreon support team. I don't have a sponsor other than, YouTube runs those videos ads that I have no control of. And I've seen some of those ads. I don't like some of those ads. I don't agree with them, but it is what it is. But the amount of money coming in off the YouTube ads, I can't stop them. They do it anyway. They didn't even wait until I hit 1,000 subscribers. Normally, you can't even monetize until you hit 1,000 subscribers. They were running ads before I got to 1,000, so I can't control that. And the amount of money that comes in, I have no idea if I'm being treated fair or not. There's no metrics for me to see, and it's not is not enough to run this channel, I'll tell you right now. But the Patreon support team makes it possible for me to shoot straight with you guys. Right now, I won't give you any details, but I think I'm in a little bit of a trouble over the FT710 video series because I've just shot straight with you guys and told you some negatives about it. And don't take that too wrong. The hi from the Mr. X in the UK, a Golf Bravo station there. I'm just shooting straight, and some of the things, there are some shortcomings. 2 firmware updates have cleared most of what I had a problem with. The last thing that hasn't been cleared yet is the DNR. Anything above algorithm 3, it gets gnarly, and isn't it funny? By the way, have any of you noticed, if you have an 891, it has that watery digital artifact with algorithms 1 through 8, and after that it clears up. All you hear is that, that AGC tail. But with the FT710, it's reverse of that. The gnarly water effect starts at algorithm 4 and the rest of the way up. So really, algorithms 1 through 3 are the only ones that are usable right now with sideband. I have used the more aggressive, and by the way, it's like a sudden jump in aggressiveness between algorithm 3 and 4 on the 710. I've used those more aggressive settings for CW. They actually work quite well for CW. That's why I say it's a great CW rig, great FT8 rig. But if you're really into a lot of sideband, you're definitely going to want to spring for the 10. It's going to do better for you on sideband. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome there, Rodger, for the DNR memory stuff. Yeah, and don't forget, guys, remember this, if nothing else. Do your DNR a favor, do your whole DSP stage a favor, and try to knock down as much noise in the front end of the radio as you can. Many of you who've viewed for a while know, you've heard me say, work that S meter to the left, not to the right. So you're working IPO, intercept point optimization. By the way, engage it first. I've covered that in a video. Before you do an attenuator, always turn on IPO, because IPO improves something called the cross-modulation characteristic of the receiver. It's going to make it a little more selective. Then if you still need to knock it down, use an attenuator or RF gain. Do all those things to try to minimize the noise before it ever gets to the DSP chip. And what's going to happen, and this is what spoiled me, it's almost going to sound like you're talking on the phone. We call it phone too, voice modes. But it's really going to be, it'll be that clear to where you forget that. I mean, if you're in a rag chew, you're going to forget that you guys aren't just on a speakerphone having a chat. That's how good the DNR can be, but help it out with the front end of the receiver. And these radios are quite capable of that. And even the 710, just run it on DNR algorithm 3, roll that RF gain back, use IPO, and attenuation if you need it. Down on 40 meters and lower, I'm definitely using IPO and attenuation. My general rule of thumb is IPO and 6 dB of attenuation on 40, IPO and 12 on 80, and IPO and 18 on 160. So let's see. I think I covered all the questions. Yeah. Okay. Well, good. And yeah, I see you're already in my QRZ. Well, I'm going to be uploading all that to QRZ shortly, so you'll get a confirmation there, Mike. So you should be good to go there. I am good about logging, and if you work, man, you want a QSL card, just do me a favor and send a self-addressed stamped envelope. It's getting to the point where I'm running out of forever stamps, and the stamps have gotten crazy. But I will gladly send you the card. If you look at my QRZ page, the card up there at the top right, that's the card I'm sending. Well, hey, thank you guys for jumping in there and being part of this, as I had the honor of, it was a little touch and go at the beginning there because of propagation, but, we learned a little bit about propagation, hopefully, about the 40-meter band is our friend. It's our 24-hour band. And then I'm going to put a video out coming up. Actually, I've already done the script for it, but I'm refining it. I want to give a practical insight into propagation. So any time of day, you can say in your head, okay, between here and can I work Colorado? It's noon, 30 meters. Can I work Colorado? And I want you to be able to say, yeah, sure, I can get Colorado at noon on 30 meters. But then I want you to be able to say, can I work Texas 40 meters, middle of the day? No. What band could you use to work Texas middle of the day? 20 would do it, and 17 for that matter. How Oh, you like the live streams? Well, maybe I'll do more of these. I appreciate that, Stephen. W6QX there. And see, Oliver Fredrickson. I hope I got that right. OY10F73. Well, thanks so much, buddy. I appreciate you joining in as well. We're up to 30, and here I am about to close. But yeah, you know, this has been kind of fun, and I am honored. You guys, if you have the opportunity to operate and work Samarjai, KI5YQK, welcome him to the amateur community, an 11-year-old extra. He passed it on the 11th of December. So that was just such an honor for me. And those of you we talked about earlier in the video who've had the opportunity to work somebody the very first time as they got their general and got on HF, you know, that's just an exciting thing to do too. And if you are a tech, if you happen to be a tech and you're watching, remember 10 meters is beginning to open up, and you have sideband privileges we call voice phone. You know, the old school we called voice phone mode. You have privileges between here in the U.S. between 28.3 and 28.5 megahertz. You just can't exceed 200 watts. You won't need it. You can have fun on that band with 50 watts. So, but that'll give you a taste of sideband, and then, you know, as you upgrade, you're going to have an opportunity to work the other bands as well. But I'll tell you this, right now you can do CW if you happen to be inclined to try to dive into that. And I got to tell you, I've spent many years away from it, and I was, quite honestly, I got down, and I came up old school. We had to take 5 written tests and 3 CW tests. I was at 7 words a minute when I got back into CW in 2019. It was embarrassing. But it comes back to you like riding a bicycle. One of the greatest things you can do is just jump on there. On air is actually good. The SOTA and POTA stations, they post spots, so you already know their call sign. You already know where they are. All you got to do is know enough CW to be able to hear them call you and give them a signal report and say 73. So that's a good way to practice CW, and before you know it, that's what I did. By the way, I came back in at 7 words a minute, and now I'm back up at about 22 words per minute comfortably. And I have done 25 in a pinch, but, you know, I'll just tell you the scoop on that is 25 is when I'm working a rare I've done 30, but it's when I'm working a rare DX, and he's not going to slow down. So I try to send at the same speed he is, because a lot of times they won't really answer if you send in at 17 or 18. My favorite speed, if you're curious, I love 17. We had a guy on the SOTA reflector who's a merchant marine radio operator, and he said they usually use 17 because they found that speed, well, we're all over the place on this video. They found that speed means they don't have to repeat themselves as often, and actually they wind up with more reliable contacts at 17. So I kind of honed in on that as well. But sometimes if you send at 17, rare DX guys, they're not even gonna hear you. So let's see a couple of more comments here. I have a 5-watt 10-meter beacon at 28.243. Yeah, okay, VT Radio. Thanks for that. So you guys, if you're checking to see if 10 meters is open, just tune to 28.243, and listen for that 5-watt beacon. And if you hear that, then you'll know that the band's open to your particular skip zone, as we call it. And thank you for that, Tony. Tony Curtis there, the last comment in there. All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks a lot for joining on this. It was a privilege, and appreciate you watching the videos on the channel and clicking that like button. You know, that helps with YouTube, and it helps them decide whether my channel's relevant enough to be pushed when people are searching for ham radio-related content. That's what they tell me it's actually for. And and VT Radio said the call sign of his beacon is Alpha Alpha 1 Sierra Uniform stroke B, Bravo. So that helps out when you click that like button. That's why I say that all the time. You hear every YouTuber saying that. It helps with the algorithm that YouTube is judging us by. And, oh, well, you're welcome there, Mike. Thank you so much, man. Eagle River, Wisconsin. So that's why I say that all the time, if you do the like. And, of course, subscribing helps as well. You know, they just need to see it. It's a computer, I'm sure, at YouTube. It's just checking to see if my channel's worth promoting, telling anybody about. So that's what that's all about. Well, hey, thanks a lot for joining me tonight. Looks like it's an 1.5-hour video. Wow, the longest video I've ever done. But I do appreciate it. And this is N4HNH saying